all the beautiful people in the internet are going to be able to hear us. Cause guess what? It's Thursday night. It's time for your Thursday night Crisis Talking Head show. Maybe a vlog. Wait, did I roll a wild? Your Marvel Crisis Protocol vlog. I'll be your host this evening, Tim. I'm joined this evening by Mr. D. Cole. That's Mr. Dan Cole, and as well as
Yeah.
Dr. D. Dyer for Dr. Dylan
Gotta
Dyer.
gotta one up me with the doctor.
We gotta go over actually a whole ton of stuff tonight. So we're gonna be talking about the Salt City GT. We're gonna be talking about ACO. We're going to be talking about our Shatterpoint, not Shatterpork giveaway. That will be next month. But our Shatterpoint Core Box giveaway, which you can sign up for right now. The link for that is in the show notes, as well as pinned in Twitch chat. So if you are interested in signing up and getting your own Core Box, on me, then I would head over there and start signing up for that. You can enter in a bunch of different ways. Some of them are even daily throughout the course of June, where you can use our link to find out more about Shatterpoint on a daily basis. Follow us on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, all sorts of other dope things to get a whole bunch of entries into that. We'll draw a lucky Shatterpointer on July 1st. After it is done. And then next month, we will be having another giveaway as well for
What?
Shatterpoint, giving away the Padawan Ahsoka model.
Ooh.
Right? So a whole bunch of things going on. So make sure to head over to Professional Casual Network or professionalcasual.com and sign up. That link is also right there in the show notes. So you can sign up right now a whole bunch of different ways, a whole bunch of different days. We also are going to be talking about Claw. We're also going to be talking about M'Baku, or the new Wakandian affiliation leader. We're going to be talking about Ghost Rider's Cosmic Tactics cards that just came out that are honestly super dope. One of which in there being pretty much Helios Laser Bombardment, but just death instead. And probably a whole lot of other things. One of the other things that we are going to start with right away is games played and hobby thoughts. Dylan, did you watch Did you watch Dan's game earlier this week of Shatterpoint?
I did not. I actually haven't had a lot of time to watch Shatterpoint in general. I get the general gist of it. I just don't know all the fine technicalities of it, which I really should watch more battle reports. But there's something about it, just always it never registers in my brain. Like I am enjoying it, but
Right.
there's just so much that's lost by not actually having my hands on it.
I get
Here's the
that.
good news. We have at least 4 out there right now
hmm
at this point.
With more on the way. Dr. D can only kind of handle me contractually for about an hour a week. And because we just got
Fair.
back from Ironweld, I'm sure we're well over that limit.
You're
It's
like a
it's
bus driver, just don't record most of it.
well, it's for the love, right?
Mhm.
It's for the you can't do it for the money, because God knows I wouldn't be in here for the money.
Right? So, Dan, you and I got to play a Shatterpoint, your first Shatterpoint game.
I finally got to play it. It took almost a month, but I did it.
So what'd you think? Who'd you play? How'd you do? And
Did
was it fun? What'd you think of the game as a whole?
did you play John Star Wars?
Yes, I played Ahsoka, of course. She's
Sure.
my favorite Star Wars character. So I was really excited to try her out, and she was great. She took the 212th with her. Yeah, Cody and the 212th for the support, and then with her I brought Anakin so he could bring his boy Rex and the 501st. And it's really cool. I really enjoyed it. I really like how well the models buff each other up, and there's a lot of synergy. You can build it with a lot of synergy if you want, where they're triggering all kinds of abilities off of each other. I loved how much the models moved around the table, even with fewer activations than you would get compared to MCP in a game. It still felt like I was doing a bunch with all the characters, which I really, really enjoyed. The scoring aspect is nice and relatively simple. I really like the struggle tracker with the building of the momentum as it gets closer and closer, and it's like I just need to do this round, and if this
Right?
works out, I'll be good to go. Or I love the one thing I really appreciated about AMG's rules writing is their clap back catch up mechanics
Yeah. Yep.
between Shatterpoint and MCP. I think they do it really well and very differently in both games. Where when the struggle cube, the tracker is not on your side, and you add momentum, so it's unless the game really gets out of your hands somehow, it's never going to be that far away for somebody. Like you're never going to be in an impossible spot.
Right. So I played a teaching game today with a local Vax, and
Oh, nice.
that it was a very deadly game. I had a
That tracks.
who was it? Yeah, my Anakin went up and just obliterated a Darth Maul, who then obliterated him back in response with just a 5-die attack.
What?
Yeah, I rolled, and follow me on this one. 5 failures
On defense?
on defense, and so he rolled all successes with a couple expertise for some bonus stuff, and I was just like, good job, you did it. I don't like this.
It was a great moment for them, though.
Oh,
Is
absolutely.
the game still favoring like offense, like MCP with the dice results?
No, I don't think. Well, yes, it does favor as far as getting results, and there's normally more on the attacks as well than on the defense. So more successes and more ability to kind of get around things. So crits and Shatterpoint just automatically give you a spot on the tracker. So
Combat
attacks and
tree.
blocks are actually pretty evenly matched there.
One thing
So
I
it's-
really like,
so-
it doesn't favor just dealing damage. Like combat trees have so much going on with pushing your opponent or moving yourself or getting statuses. Like it's really good. There's a bug down here it's driving me crazy. Go away. But I really like how there's so many levels to that where it's not just trying to hurt the opponent. There's a whole bunch going on.
Well, and you rarely whiff, which is nice. So while you may
Yes.
not be doing an absolute ton of damage on your attack, you're probably pushing, pinning, moving, exposing, disarming, doing something that's going to help you along the way to whatever your particular objectives might be. But I'm very excited. If you are in the upstate New York area, I'll be running some demos at Bearded Dragon Games this weekend, starting at noon. So if you are interested in playing some Shatterpoint, I will be there running those for people for a good portion of the day. In addition, before I forget, massive shout out to Frontline Gaming, who is sponsoring the network. If you are looking for mats, minis, or terrain, Frontline is a great place to pick that up. Always heavily discounted as well. You can use our link that's in the show notes and in chat to go ahead and support the network by picking up the stuff you're probably going to pick up anyway. In addition to that, if you are heading to ACO, the Bay Area Open, which will be next year now that it's over, Lone Star, LVO, tickets for LVO are going to be going on sale June 9th. June 9th. It would mean the world to me if you all used our link in the show notes to buy your LVO tickets. But
Yeah.
moving on, what did y'all hobby this week?
I hobbied some in a little Infinity Boy, and I also finished. I don't know. We haven't actually had a show in like what feels like a very long time. I finished Hulk. I think I finished.
yeah.
I think I've finished Hulk since then. I finished Squirrel Girl, not too long ago. You know what? What a great simple model.
Squirrel
Like-
It's a good, yeah. I think it's a good way to describe it. It's not, I don't know. It's a good model.
I like that their efficiency has really improved over time as far as making assembly significantly less
It's
tasking.
less tedious.
Yeah.
It's less tedious.
It's not over designed like a lot of miniatures are these days, where there's all these little gubbins and stuff on it that aren't really necessary. And the companies are like, oh, they're so detailed. And I'm like, you just put 1,000 pouches and things on it that aren't necessary.
You're acting like that isn't just one company.
Well, kind of, yeah. But I wasn't going to call them out directly.
Why not?
Leave some imagination to the listeners. But like, I feel like it's a well done sculpt. And especially like I don't know, her face is better than a lot of other models out
Yeah.
there.
I'm usually like I think the studio paint jobs are usually really good. I think their Squirrel Girl was really good, but for some reason the face, she looked like she had like hypothyroidism. Like she had this like chunky face, which is kind of strange.
That's part of the powers that allow her to bite through steel, though.
Oh,
all those cheek muscles, you know.
low levels of T3. Okay, that's a good. That's thinking. Man,
She got
AMG's on
cheek-
the next level.
Right?
She's got cheek pouches.
No,
like
no, but
Brennan.
seriously, when you paint it yourself, the face doesn't look quite that chunky.
Okay. As a couple things from chat as well, as far as hobby stuff. So it looks like Alyssa finished her Cornzis City Chiefs for Blood Bowl.
That's a
Um,
great name.
and yeah, it really is. And Xpaxis has been working on the core set, said that that was a little bit more of a chore. And I think that's actually one thing that really shows how AMG has developed over time in their kits. Um, that some of those first models were there was a lot to do, right? Dallas actually has
Mhm.
some really good painting streams that are up on the AMG YouTube about assembling like the initial wave of Wakanda very specifically. Shuri
Shuri
and
was a
Okoye.
nightmare.
Yeah.
Oh, they're awful.
And shows you how to do that in a little bit more detail. But those seem to be significantly less and less needed as time has gone on, and I think we'll see
Yeah.
that almost out of the gate with Shatterpoint. Well, like the B1 droids were a little difficult to get on a base because it was 3 models on one base with a bunch of really tiny parts. There's only so much you can do about that particular type of setup.
But
I
that's
would
just the
say
nature.
I would say Venom onwards. I haven't noticed a single model where I thought it was like a bad build.
Yeah, and that's
Hulk wasn't that bad either.
Venom's pretty early too.
Yeah, it's real early. Like Hulk wasn't that bad. I mean, pretty much as soon as I would actually go to say that the Wakanda stuff was probably
And
the
outlier.
last. Yeah, it was probably the last of the bad stuff.
Okoye was the most difficult MCP model for me by far to get the spear to line up. I didn't
Yeah.
have any issues with Shuri personally. I think got lucky, I guess. But we were talking the B1s are difficult. I think it mostly by the nature of the design of the character,
Mhm.
because of how they're put together with such small connection points with like the shoulders, because they were the worst model, the most difficult model for me to build when I built a bunch for Legion a couple years ago. The Shatterpoint ones are way better. And
Yeah.
there's only 6. You only have to build 6, not dozens.
I will say, as far as compactness, like in looking at building a squad in Shatterpoint as compared to building an affiliation in MCP, the barrier of entry I feel is significantly lower in
Yes.
Shatterpoint because you just buy that box and that's a full squad. You need 2 of those, you're good to go. Like as far as needing all the tokens and things like that, that I think will be kind of the only impactful part. But being able to pick up the range rulers and the dice, and then just 2 expansions. Like if you wanted to pick up Obi-Wan and Dooku and some dice and range rule, you can. And that's
Yeah.
been a significantly simpler path to being ready for that game versus kind of what it's been in the past with MCP, where there's a lot of videos out there about like, all right, well now with these affiliation packs and these 2 boxes and part of the core set and split it like this, it's actually really streamlined and I like it quite a lot.
I would say that it's indicative to MCP that there's an entire tournament format that relies on the core box being in your possession.
Correct.
I don't think that's going to be the case with Shatterpoint for the sure. Now, obviously, the game isn't even out yet, from what I remember.
It
It's
comes
like
out
next
tomorrow.
comes out. Oh, it does. Okay,
Yeah.
so
We're on
Tomorrow.
the eve of some Shatterpoint.
so the people that listen to this as a podcast, welcome to the future. So when you like, I'm not sure if they've gone into this at all, but when you want to go to like, let's say an event, right, or a tournament or whatever, Shatterpoint, have they actually talked about the quote unquote like roster building?
They just did. Yes.
I'm looking at it right now.
Like,
It's
Into the
very
future.
exciting.
Like just
What
today,
a segue.
or in the podcast version, yesteryear.
By the way,
effectively-
Dan, we don't care about your hobbying. Go to the next thing, Tim.
Well, this is actually really interesting. I like this a lot, and a huge
Like
shout
you
out
a lot.
to Brian. Oh, girl, Brian Watson, who sent me a message talking about my thoughts on it, and it's really nifty. So effectively, the tournament format is going to be 2-hour rounds. After 90 minutes, they call mission critical. And Dylan, I know you won't have a huge frame of reference for this, but after each player's turn, you gain a momentum before scoring. So that is going to heavily speed up that second or potentially third mission.
Momentum is the little cube that like makes it so that you score sooner, right?
Yes, it's the black cubes that fill in the tracker along the way that you get for wounding enemies or ending your victory point scoring with the struggle cube either in the center or on your opponent's side.
Right.
Mission critical. It's time to sweat.
What a great mechanic.
It really is.
I like that
game
a lot.
I like
and
yeah.
in game and in play too, and you'll notice this right away the first time you play, that it is very like, oh, I'm so close, oh, it's just out of reach again, and it just builds that tension as both sides, get their struggles. And then there's going to be kind of two modes, a regular and an advanced version. So as far as tournament play or event play, so the regular is you bring two squads,
down.
one mission, and you send her out. And then there's an advanced one where you bring 4 squads. You can't repeat any units, and during the event, you have to use each squad at least once.
I think that's going to become the standard. People love having a sideboard. That sounds awesome. Bringing 4 separate squads.
I completely agree, and the advanced rule set as well. Core box, you're there. You have 4 squads. You have 2 strike teams, and they both work very well together in a multitude of ways. I think that's great. But
very exciting.
So happy Shatterpoint Eve. I hope everyone is heading out to stores this weekend to get their demos or to pick up their pre-orders. I believe Bearded Dragon Games still has a few left, and one thing that I do really like is they made a statement today talking about how they are supporting local game stores first to make sure that they get the product, because that's what's going to put it into people's hands, and that might help with some of the things that we've noticed with other minis games, right? As far as like scalping or doing a bunch of pre-orders and then selling on eBay. If it's in local game store hands versus online store hands first, not exclusively, but just first, I think that goes a long way to making sure that people are actually going to have access to this at their store, and the store is going to have access to it as well. So really, really kind of happy with those decisions. But let's get into the MCP goodness of the week, which is a lot, like an absolute ton.
I feel like we've been in a bit of a drought, and then we've got like it's a flood, overwhelming,
right?
Almost. It's great. I love it.
So let's start out with Mr. Ulysses Claw. So this is a dude.
Oh, that's the one I forgot to bring up. Thanks.
Nuts. So we know that he is going to be in a criminal syndicate affiliation leader. He has the new black market entrepreneur. Your boy loves an entrepreneur. So we're in great spot there. We also found out M'Baku is also going to be a leader. This box is absolutely going to be popping off. So if you haven't, get that pre-ordered. I would highly suggest it.
Real.
But to just kind of go through his base stats first, couple surprises here, at least for me. 3-5-3 is not a surprise as far as defenses, but 7 stamina and 5 threat certainly was. This is
5 threat.
This is 2023. This is year of the 4s. I don't know what they think they're pulling with this, but it is unacceptable. Unacceptable. We need more 4s, and thankfully the rest of this box is 4 threat. But size 2 and medium mover seems to track pretty heavily. His body is literally sound, right? Inside his little robot face. So like the high energy defense super tracks here.
Yes, which is nice. I think this is our first natural 5 energy defense.
I think you're right.
He now has the highest energy defense in the game, just on the card.
So his builder is called Sonic Blast, range 3, strength 6. It gains power equal to the damage dealt, has suppressive on a wild, which a lot of people might say, Tim, that's good concussive. And yes, you are correct. That is exactly what it is, because before damage is dealt, for each wild in the attack roll, the target character loses 1 power. Now, while not necessarily exclusively better, because the cool thing about concussive is that it's after damage is dealt. So if you only do 1, they gain none. You know what I'm saying? So
you do 1, they gain none.
And then we have as his spender Sonic Shockwave, beam 5, strength 7, 5 power to pull off. Little pricey, little pricey, but it has pierce on a wild, and after the range tool is placed for this attack, destroy all size 2 or smaller interactive terrain features it overlaps. Now I know exactly what Dylan is going to say. Finally, Brotherhood gets a buff that it needs, and I know that he's just happy to be here. But I would like
to say it better myself.
Look at him.
Couldn't say it better myself.
The thing that really doesn't bring this character together, though, is his affiliation ability, and this is what I would like to talk about a little bit. So Black Market Entrepreneur, another crime syndicate leader. I'm a huge crime syndicate player. Love my dudes in suits.
Yes,
and
same.
The ability seems a little lackluster, though, especially at first glance. So when an allied character is dazed or KO'd after the effective resolve, Claw may advance short. Not anyone, just Claw. What are your guys' thoughts on this? Is this underwhelming or is this underwhelming intentionally?
To me, it looks like text on a piece of paper.
You
I'm gonna
know,
leave it at that.
got it in one. Got it
Got
in
it.
one.
So the only thing I'm gonna say about this, because I have nothing positive to say about this entire character card, is that
Weird thing.
I won't even get into it. If you want to keep this PG, so they specifically don't state what the KO or daze is from, so you could actually knock out your own characters with like AOE's and beams, and it will still go off.
It's
Worth it.
weird that you mentioned that because he certainly has access to a lot of beams and area of effects.
Yeah, he sure does.
So narratively, I actually really like this. Mechanically, I honestly, it's there. Versatile strategy is very big for Criminal Syndicate, especially right now. Being able to switch from Kingpin to MODOK Scientist Supreme or Claw is certainly something that you could do to have this be a little bit more useful. Claw can't steal things, Keebler, but he can get away. A distraction comes in, one of his own goes down, and he uses that opportunity to put himself in a better position. And that's why I think the Black Market Entrepreneur is really fitting for Claw because he's all about himself. He'll work with others, but as long as he secures the bag at the end of the day, and I think that affiliation ability really makes that translate.
I think they explained a good reasoning behind it in the transmission about his card. In that they said it might make people think twice about like arbitrarily dazing characters of yours or KOing them, like just to get rid of them, whatever. Like especially if they've already gone, kind of thing. But it's like, well, Claw will get a move, especially if it could get him onto a point to take it or contest it or whatever it might be. It's an interesting way to look at it. I really like the narrative aspect as well. That he's in the criminal syndicate. He's a leader, but he's out there for himself. Claw doesn't care about helping the rest of the criminal syndicate. They're probably just ablative wounds for him. Like, here, you go to jail, and I'll get away with the loot.
Well, I mean, MODOK literally does that. MODOK is literally the person that uses other models as a blade of wound.
It's very true. So I think as a leadership, yeah, I'm a bit underwhelmed. When I first read it, I was like, well, where's the rest of it? But it'll have its uses, and I think I think the rest of between his attacks and superpowers, he's pretty good already.
Yeah.
So a better leadership I'm assuming the design philosophy is that would have taken him over the top, push 5 to a 6 territory, and they clearly didn't want that.
So for superpowers, he has Reconstitute Form as well, where this character can remove up to 2 damage for itself for only 2 power. It can only be used once a turn.
Real good.
And Sound Wave Barrier. When an enemy character ends its activation within range 3 of this character, it may use the superpower. This character may push the enemy character away short. And this is where I feel like his affiliation ability is a lot better. Do you daze that 2-threat character to get him off a point to let Claw set up on your own turn, moving within range to then push you off the objective that you were just trying to secure? That is where I do think that there is actually a pretty solid amount of wombo-y combo-iness that is going to trick your opponent, especially for someone that pilots this character on a somewhat regular basis. Criminal Syndicate is already an affiliation that's heavily about, I need my guys where I need them, and I'm going to do a bunch of displacement, throws, hurls, pushes, or just having my guys count as 2. And versatile strategy, I think, really, once again, just kind of makes this character pop a little bit more. Especially with some other Criminal Syndicate players, like Mysterio, for instance, being able to have someone end their movement, you then push them away short, into a Tricks and Trap, into a this, into a that, maybe with a Spider Foe in there as well, with Green Goblin. I dig it, and I think that there's a lot of like constant board pressure because of that.
The 3 power seems a little expensive at first, but we all know how big of a difference a short push can be, especially on a character that's already activated. Like you said, pushing them off the point. But I like that one a lot.
Xpaxus in chat asks, if you find yourself with him against you, is there a strategy to counter or neuter him? And probably. And it's just murdering him.
I think
Yeah,
stun will
mystic
help
attacks.
there. Physical or mystical, he's not the
Oh,
toughest that way.
he also gets extra stuff with physical, so
Oh,
but he
true,
doesn't get
yeah.
any extra stuff, which is coming.
Fair, yeah, his mystic defense is definitely the worst. I think stunning him because he's a little power hungry for those superpowers, and if you really don't want him to sonic shockwave you, to help get less power that way.
A sleeper agent seems also very good against him as well because he's very reactionary on stuff. So not being able to trigger those powers, especially sound wave barrier on your turn,
Mhm.
especially a Mystique, right? Or just with even without sleeper agent, just needing to get on a point and not having to worry about being pushed off of it. But yeah, I do think he is pretty power starved, both for his durability and for his certainly his spender and sound wave barrier. Now, the last point, which kind of helps him with his power generation, is absorbing vibrations. When this character is targeted by an enemy physical or energy attack, or makes a dodge roll, which I think is like the huge part there, because initially my thought is, I'm just going to throw things at him. He's one of those characters that you can just chuck garbage cans at until they're gone. Um, but after they make, after being targeted, not if damage is dealt, not if they block at all, just once they're targeted, after the effect is resolved, they gain a power.
I
Additionally,
like
they can't be pushed or advanced by effects of energy attacks or enemy superpowers.
so his sound wave barrier wouldn't work on another claw, something like that. I
I
do like that he gains power right away. Um, and it triggers when he's targeted, so you could potentially then like do a bodyguard to take the attack off of him, and he would still would have gotten that power
Mhm.
because he was initially targeted, which is pretty cool.
Well, and not only that, but it's not. It doesn't have one of those effects like ornery or something like that, where he has to not be dazed after the attack is resolved. He will still get that power, even if
Mm.
it takes him down. Uh, I think one of the big things here are the immunities, which are bleed, incinerate, poison, and shock, which seems like a
Yeah,
lot.
a lot. I mean,
Uh,
no incinerate. Ah,
right, and
you can't put sound on fire.
that would certainly be one of the ways to do it too. Right, is when someone's pretty has a lot of stamina, just put incinerate on them and call it a day. Hex seems like it'd be a solid one against them. We've been seeing that a lot more, and I think that does a great job. Uh,
The
on his
judgment would be really bad on him as well because he's got 7 stamina, but he's probably going to be standing a bit longer with that with his reconstitute form. I feel like that's where the bulk of his power is going to be going to spend to just stay. He could stay up for quite a while with that, probably. I mean,
I completely agree. Scarlet Witch being very good against him specifically, being able to
yeah,
get that judgment on him. Some of the status effects like Hex that can in fact go on him to kind of just shut him off a little bit. On his injured side, nothing changes. No stamina drop, so he's 7-7.
Really?
And no other additional changes to his card or absorbing vibrations or anything like that. He's just kind of a tanky boy that's pretty movable. No throws, a resistance to some pushes, and we'll see that with the other character in this box as well. But overall,
and a ton of immunities.
pretty solid dude. Pretty solid
Yeah,
dude.
He,
Now, do
I
you?
think, I
No.
think he gets a lot of interesting thought just because Guardians is such a big thing right now.
Mm-hmm.
Which is probably it's not going to get any better as it was illustrated earlier today, which I'm sure will come up at some point. But they're you figure most of the Guardian models that get taken all have very good energy attacks.
Yeah.
So I could see him have some play in the Guardians.
Mm-hmm.
for
Yeah, I
sure.
completely agree. Well, and I think the power thing is really kind of the big obvious point, right? Like the reconstitute form being similar to Groot's, where you do 2 damage to him, he's gaining extra power. His throughput is actually significantly higher than Groot's, where he's paying 2 to heal 2, but when he's taking physical or energy attacks or dodges, he's gaining whatever damage he took plus more power. So
Plus one.
being able to mitigate that, I think is going to be the big uphill stroke there. And Dylan,
Mm.
just for clarification too, you're not a huge fan of this particular character card. Is it because you think he's too strong for what he is, or because the lackluster criminal syndicate affiliation just kind of doesn't really give him a spot?
Because he's another leader for a affiliation that has 3 leaders.
Listen, anyone can be a crime boss,
That's fine.
even a boat.
Even a boat.
I
But
can see where there's oh, I'm not sure what the word for it is. A little bit of disappointment when an affiliation that has a lot of representation already is getting more when others could could really use it and need some help there. I think in a vacuum, he's cool. I love the model for him. He looks amazing. I can't wait to paint that. But yeah, I could totally see. It's kind of like, yeah, he's cool, but
I don't necessarily disagree either. Keebler says just hit him with optic devastation. He loses a power if you roll a wild.
It's just
he's not wrong.
It's interesting that it's a 5. I do agree that it's interesting that it's a 5, right? Just because it is this.
Well,
people want to call Year of the 4.
A real long throwback is back to Cable, where he's a 5 because he's immune to poison.
It's true, and yeah, you know what? It tracks.
Absolutely. All right, so
He's
the
got
other
so many immunities. I kind of missed the immune to poison. Yeah, he's push 6 for sure.
Yeah, that's fair.
Well, it'd be a
I
push
take everything
5.
back I
So
said.
5 push is something that's close to a 6. A push 6 would be close to a 7.
My roster is actually just going to be Claw
I like
with
that.
Yes, Claw.
with generic cards. That's my entire
You
roster.
get a bunch of the Toy Story aliens on his base too, just looking up at him, saying "the Claw."
If anybody's got little tiny and little green men, send them to P.O. Box G, Westonia, New York 13861, and we'll put them on all our Claws bases.
That's a hugely great point. All right, so the other part of this box is M'Baku. Now, Dylan, just what was your initial impression, positive or negative, of this gut reaction before we get into it, so I know how much I should talk to you or not?
So I think Claw is probably one of the most well balanced characters they've released in a very long time.
M'Baku or Claw?
M'Baku, sorry. Claw can lick my butt. All
right, clip it. Clip the part where Dylan said that Claw is
can lick my butt. I think M'Baku is actually really interesting. I think he's very well balanced. I think he's a very good 4, but I think AMG has obviously honed in on what makes a good 4 these days. So I don't think they could. I mean, they know what it takes at this point. Yeah. But I think he's really, really good. We'll get to it obviously, but I think his throw is fair.
Okay,
it's a fair throw.
All right, so let's get into the base stats here. So he's 4.24. And I think this might lean into a little bit of what you were saying earlier, Dylan. As far as AMG making a 4, this is a solid 4. Clear strengths, clear weakness. And that's what I particularly really enjoy. But 4.24 for defenses, 7 health on his healthy side, 6 on his injured, 4 threat, size 3. He's a big gorilla boy, and a medium mover. Dan, I went over all of Claw's attacks. Why don't you guys talk about the words that I will never probably be able to say correctly?
I was just going to say, you're passing this off just because you don't want to have to try to say knob carry.
Yes.
Yep. I don't know if that's how you actually pronounce it, but that's what it looks like to me. His builder, pretty sweet. Range 3, because he's got a big, long stick he's hitting you with. Strength 5. After the attacker's result, he gains power equal damage dealt. With a wild, he gets pursuit, which is sweet. Always love more movement. Before damage is dealt, this character may advance toward the target character short. So just in case KOing somebody with this, he still gets to move to them before they're gone. And then separately on a crit, he gets a push. But again, before damage is dealt, so you can push them before they daze or KO, this character may push the target away short. And if you get both the triggers, because you're the attacker, you get to choose the order they go in. So you could push them, then pursuit, like maybe if they were too close in your way or something, you can kind of make room. Love this one.
I really like this a lot. Great builder. Strength 6 would have been too much. I think this is in a really good sweet spot. It's not multiple wild triggers. You do need the crit. And I really like that both of them are before damage is dealt. So like you said, you can kind of choose that order. Dr. Dizzles, what about his spender?
Wrath of Jabbery, I think is how you say it.
Oh my goodness. This is Defenestrate all over again, but this time I'm on the show, so I don't have to yell at the screen. Jabari! Have you ever seen the movie?
No. All right,
he watched it with subtitles. He's never heard the word said out loud.
Yeah, I've actually never watched a movie with sound. And you know what? Now that you say that, I feel confronted.
That makes a lot of sense why you hate Claw.
Yeah, it's true. All right, so Wrath of Jabroni. Before damage is dealt, if the target character is size 4 or less, this character may throw it medium, which is really good. I should say it is range 2, 8 dice, and 4 power. And the trigger is a while, then a hit. You get avalanche. So after this attack is resolved, this character may advance small, and it may make another Knob Kiri attack targeting a different enemy character, which is cool because you get to do the advance first. So you could even go in the opposite direction, I think. This character may. Yeah, you can go in the opposite direction and just run off and bonk somebody else in the head with a stick.
It's very much the, hey, Papa Pal Mitch, like as a spender, because you're just going to be bonking people. I adore it. I love this spender. I think it's dope as heck. The fact that you are throwing size 4 characters medium with no trigger, not if damage is dealt, that it's before damage is dealt as well. Juggernaut's going to be flying around. Malekith's going to be flying around. Not a Sentinel Prime, though. Try it. You can't. You can't do it. That's why he's
hurt your wrists.
You can even leave a Sentinel Prime on top of your car, have it fall off your car after a child's birthday party, have it spill across a state highway, fall into several pieces, and be able to put it back together because you didn't use plastic glue, so just the glue fell apart. Based, untarnished. Body, untarnished. Head and shoulder section that popped right off, also untarnished. The little extra spider bot with a sentinel face that was also on the base fell off cleanly and was ready to be reassembled. By the way, make sure to check out...
it's gone forever.
Check out Professional Casual, Facebook.com/Professional Casual to see pictures of the Sentinel Prime, which I forgot on my roof when I was putting my kids in the car on Monday and fell off and spilled across the highway while I was darting around dodging cars to get all of those little pieces. It was pretty dope. And also, guess what? At least I didn't smash it in my cup holder with a bottle. But... So, back to this, though. I love this. He's super maneuverable already, right? He has all sorts of movement. This seems like a Weapon X character, almost. This seems like new Logan, just being all over the place all the time. And I love that medium throw on a size 4 character. It's just dope as heck. And going and hitting somebody else, not the, our original target, with the spender is also just rad. He's going to be moving. What an incredibly disruptive piece. I like it a lot.
It's got what spenders crave, right? It costs 4 power.
Electrolytes. Oh, got him!
Hey! It's not cheap. It's 4 power. And I don't think he's going to have too much problem getting that, but you're not going to be doing it every round, of course. Mm-hmm. But it has good damage dice. 8 dice is great. And then he's got an automatic throw. Awesome. This is already great power. And then the avalanche to get just... his action economy is great.
I mean, I love that this is like anti-Hulk. That for 4 power, which is 1 more than most people's throws, for the most part, not his and not Kingpin's, but most people's throws are probably 3. That for 1 more power, you're getting an 8 dice attack, you're hurling a Hulk off of a point, hopefully into his own allies, and then you're following up and hitting that bullseye again anyway, just for good measure.
He deserved it.
I love it. I think it's really good. And as Dylan, you said earlier with Guardians, he has a very clear weakness to energy attacks. Very clear weakness. And no aggressive. So you can just blaster line him and just hope to churn through his stuff because he doesn't have many defensible capabilities outside of preventing movement, collisions, and the like.
He's got the X-23 problem where unless he's attacking, he's really not that fast. But as long as he's attacking and getting the triggers and blah, 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 he's actually like surprisingly mobile. I'm not sure if they've actually shown it or not. If he's on I'm assuming he's on a medium base because he's so big.
I'm looks pretty small.
Certain. It does look small? Okay.
I think they're both on a small base.
They're small.
All right, so his affiliation ability, and this is something I was so incredibly happy to see on him. We've needed a new Wakanda affiliated leader for a long time. I still have very high hopes that the Rivals panel Killmonger will also be a leader. I would really like that to be the case. I don't think it has less of a chance with this, but it's certainly, as long as we're getting one of them, I'm super dope with it, super happy with it. So this is blessed by Gakri.
Say it with confidence and people will believe you.
Blessed by George, affiliation Wakanda, once per turn when an allied character is contesting an objective token and would be pushed or placed by an enemy effect roll a die. If the result is a crit, wild, or block, the character is not pushed or placed. So we've certainly seen this before with Winter Guard, and I'm really happy it's actually going to get a time to shine and be used without having to play Winter Guard. Additionally, once per turn, when an allied character makes an attack, if there are one or more wild results in its attack roll, it may change one die to a hit. I love this part of it. It's part of Modoc's ability, where he can do it on defensive rolls too. But I really like that. I love rerolls. I love being able to offset bad luck and having a defensive position here and a little bit of an aggression as well. I think it fits the gorilla motif pretty heavily. He gets on his point, he throws everyone else off of it, and if you try to take him off, you got to try real hard to do so, because that's just a 50% chance to have it not work. I like it a lot. What do y'all think?
Yeah, I think it's great. I was when I first read the card, it was like, oh, he's got half of Winter Guards and more. Sweet. Oh, he's got half of Modoc's. That okay. I like that a lot. Those two. I like how he's got both defensive and offensive, but neither are crazy overwhelming.
Right, and I think we could see more things like this, where they kind of split up some other affiliation powers and give attributes of both to new affiliation leaders, like seeing maybe an Electra criminal syndicate or leader at some point that gives like Storm's cover as far as like everyone's stealthy now, or something along those lines would be really cool. And then mix it with Cabals, where once per turn, if they do damage, they get a power, which would help a lot of criminal syndicate as well. But moving on to the strength of the White Gorilla, a 2-power throw for only terrain, size 3 or less, within range 2, and once again, hurling at medium.
Would significantly further than small.
Everyone says. I think we might even be able to lock that in as like a fact. But Dylan, what are your thoughts on this throw? Because I know you have thoughts.
It's not a character throw that costs 2. Now, if there was a character out there that could toss an enemy like model for 2, man, that sure would. You know what? I bet I'd see that model in like 70% of lists at every single place that I go to. Could you imagine?
You see that much Kingpin?
Hulk.
Oh, Hulk. I forget about him sometimes.
Yeah, no. Sometimes I forget he's in the game. Well, and then I blink.
He's a sleeper agent, so you don't see him coming for the most part. You're like, oh, it really was a Hulk in there the whole time. That's how they get you. The
whole time. Oh, man.
But yeah, the fact that it's terrain only and that helps its cost reduction, but it's throw medium and size 3 or less, I think is awesome. Makes him an absolute threat on the field. And honestly, based on terrain and stuff, I think we see like with Rogue, right? It's great efficiency to being able to effectively get another attack off, and especially some of the bigger terrain too. Hurling skid steers is always fun. But yeah, and a very unique innate as well to follow up on that, the Chieftain of the Jabari. This character cannot be pushed or advanced by special effects of physical or energy attacks from characters of size 3 or less. I love the caveat at the end of that, that Shuri cannot push this man. And if something can, he's gonna roll the die, and he might not move anyway. This is a very difficult person to displace.
You got to be bigger than him to move him.
Now, Juggernaut is size 3 or 4?
4.
Juggernaut is 4.
4. And Hulk is 3 or 4?
Hulk is also 4. She-Hulk is 3.
Gotcha. So, I mean, those guys can definitely hurl him, because nothing is stopping the hurl here. But I think it's really good. Last thing he has is solid frame. Listen, he's built to take it. This character does not suffer damage from collisions with other characters. This is probably the coolest part of his kit, immunity to stun. He's a big dude that's going to stand there and kind of doesn't care what you want to do about it. I think it rounds him out in a great way. Overall thoughts on M'Baku?
I can't wait to play Wakanda again. Like, he looks so cool. He's got so much going on.
I think it's cool that his shtick is not being moved, which I think is a rules development area that AMG really hasn't explored too much. I know that Winter Guard has a little bit of it, and actually it's funny because the last event I went to, almost 90% of the people that were there were playing Winter Guard. I'm just kidding. There was literally none. I haven't ever seen Winter Guard in the wild once. And so It's interesting to see that rule space finally get like explored a little bit more.
Yeah.
So that's fun. I really like them.
And you know, kind of to double down on something Keebler said earlier, this box hates Cyclops, right? So that optic devastation
Oh.
against a 2 defense energy is really good, right? And then he's gonna get concussed at the end of it as well, and
Oh man.
lose a power.
Wild.
I mean,
It should be said, new Wakanda leader. That's awesome. We need to
Yes.
see more of that.
Yep.
Yes.
Leaders who aren't in affiliations with 15 leaders.
I mean,
Let's see it.
we can
Let's
settle
go.
down on the criminal syndicate. Hey, it's only been 2 in the last couple months, and that is a lot in a short amount of time. But they only had 2 for a while.
2 before
Uh-huh.
that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
Wow. That sounds miserable.
We know
Having choice.
X-Men's going to be getting a 3rd. Is there what affiliation do you really feel needs one now?
Defenders.
Who are
Please.
the Defenders are in this game?
Yeah, they're not.
Gotcha.
Until they get a new leader, they are not actually. Who else needs one? Midnight Suns probably need a new one because Blade is.
Awesome.
I like Blade. No, that's the thing. I think Blade is
I think it's
interesting.
cool.
He is cool. It's just for some reason every time I try and use him, I always feel like he's just a little behind where he should be. I don't know how to. I don't know how to describe it. Like his leadership's baller, right? It's great,
Mhm.
but Blade himself, it's like, I don't know. There's just like something missing. He's not bad. You just kind of wish he had something else.
Well, and he's one of those characters that I've fallen into the trap too, just based on his kit. I regularly misdo the math in my head and assume he's a 3 and end up showing up 1 thread over. And I think that's honestly his vibe is a 3.
He's a great 3.
He'd be a great 3. But
Just like Daredevil.
Just like Daredevil. Daredevil's the
Great
best
3.
3 in the game.
So before we find out how happy Dr. D is to be here, let's move over to the Tactics cards for the Xbox. There's one I really want to go over, which is the Dabari Chieftain. Do you guys want to take the Spirit of Wakanda and the Supersonic Annihilator?
I'll talk about the Supersonic Annihilator.
Go
I gotta
for
pull
it.
the card up. Do your thing.
It's super and loud and annihilates things. So this is an unaffiliated card. It's active during Claw's activation. He may spend 5 power to play this card, and then he can use the attack shown above once this activation. So like his spender, not cheap. But Supersonic Shred is the attack. It's an A5 range.
A5. This is the first A5 we've seen. Even Sinister, I think, can only get up to A3 if he uses all of his genetic tokens.
I believe so, yeah. But A5 is just, it's going to affect so much of the board. Obviously, potentially hurting your own characters a little bit, but Claw doesn't mind as bad as others because you might get a free little move out of it.
Right.
You never know. You could set it up to do that on purpose. Maybe save an action. It is 6 strength, which for 5 power seems a little bit low, but when you're potentially hitting a bunch of characters, it doesn't feel bad at all to me. And it has a rule: after each attack is resolved, if the attack dealt damage, the target character gains this stun special condition.
This is like a worse version of Magneto Spender. In that it's cheaper, has the same amount of attack dice, is a better damage type. It costs less to pull off, and it just applies the stun.
Going to be putting a little bit of damage and stun all over the place.
And the thing I really like about this particular card is it's going to wombo combo incredibly well with Jabari Chieftain. And this is a Wakandan active where during another allied Wakandan character's activation, assuming that Claw is going to be part of Wakanda, M'Baku may spend 4 to play this card. M'Baku advances towards the active allied character, which in the long run probably won't be great for him, as he adds 2 attack dice to its attack rolls for this activation. So this is not just on a single attack. We might see that creep in again of the things that used to love. It's an Asgard affiliated only card now. We don't see it often outside of Asgard. Added attack dice equal to your defense.
Doomed Prophecy.
Doomed Prophecy. Where characters with rapid fire, it's going to affect every attack in that particular route. Characters with beams, like Claw, or like A5 with Supersonic Annihilator. Cable, his Ascani son, probably what everyone says one of the best abilities in the game. Outside of Magneto Spender, being able to also get 2 additional dice on each one of the attacks. Granted, you can't all webbed up and Jabari Chieftain, but Daredevil's Spender, being able to get more dice for each person there. Now it's an extra 2 on all of those. Bullseye's Spender getting 7 dice on 2 attacks. Anyone with follow-up attacks. It's going to be dope. I like this a lot. He gets another medium movement, making him even more what some people might define as maneuverable. And adds all sorts of dice to all sorts of attacks. I would love to use this with a whole bunch of rapid fire characters.
Yeah. Bucky. Oof.
Yeah, actually, very specifically.
Because it's rest of turn? Is that what it is?
Yeah, rest of this
Rest of the
activation.
activation.
Oh, this. Oh, okay. So it's not like he could be doing it on the I got your backs. Oh my gosh, that'd be gross.
Right?
Ugh.
Oh.
And how about Bobby?
I think it's great. It's really cool. I think so. It doesn't have to specifically be a Wakandan.
It does.
Yeah.
Oh, it does. Oh, so this is what? Yeah, I guess that's definitely the limiting factor, isn't it?
Mm-hmm. But another great card to see at What If events.
Yeah, for sure. Oh, yeah, for sure. Seems like all those cards are in
Ooh.
Wakanda. So this might work really well if you have like Tachanka like in front of him. And
Yeah.
he just like goes past Black Panther. And something that I know a lot of people tend to forget, and it doesn't make any sense. I don't know why it's in the game. But when you do a move towards, you can go past them.
Yes.
Leapfrog.
So, right. So what you could do is you could have a Black Panther set up, and then you use this, you jump past them onto a point or whatever, obviously board state depending, and then Black Panther goes charging in on something.
I love it
'Cause
on
he's got the
Killmonger
pounce.
on a Usurp the Throne.
Yeah, even better actually.
Right?
Yeah, that's actually even better.
So I think we're going to see, and exactly what should happen when a new box with a new affiliation leader is released, to the stock of existing characters in that affiliation goes through the roof. And this card very
Absolutely.
specifically does that in spades.
And so you figure most of Wakanda's 4s. And then
Yeah.
there's A3 and A2. Well, and Storm, whatever. That doesn't count. So you're going to be running thin on models. It's probably still going to be you playing Wakanda, and you're going to be mostly having all Wakanda figures. So having that like versatility is probably going to be a big bonus.
Well, and one thing that we might see now, right, is with the Rivals box out, we have 4 Wakandans. This would make 6. With Storm is 7. With the Rivals box will be 9. That's very close to being able to run fully affiliated as Wakanda, which would be nice to see.
Assuming Claw's Wakanda, we don't have confirmed yet.
Correct.
I really don't think he will be.
Really?
What? It's a toss up because like Asgard includes the villains from
Yeah.
Asgard.
No, it doesn't. It includes Hela and Loki, who are actually Asgardian.
Yeah,
Malekith's not in it.
but
Ulick's
that's what I
not in
said.
it.
Quote villains.
Well, they're not from Asgard.
'cause,
They're
like,
from different planes
Enchantress-
in all of in the whole cycle of things. Right?
But they're actually Asgardians, is what I'm saying.
Yeah. So, but it's not because Thor's the leader, right? We don't, and he doesn't like lead Enchantress and Scourge and Hela in normally. So, like, I can see them having a quote villain in the Wakanda affiliation here because they're so closely associated. Chances are, I think, is he's probably more likely he's Criminal Syndicate and Cabal.
And I'm not like in the okay, we're going on a bit of a path here, but as far as I know, Asgardian villains, they don't want to destroy Asgard. They mostly just want to control it. So I imagine it's one of those situations where it's like if the actual city or the plane or whatever you want to call Asgard, the floating city in space, if it gets attacked, I assume Enchantress would actually come out to be like, "Oh, hey, I want to take this place over. I don't want it to explode." Claw's like, "I like money. I like vibrating rock. Money."
A lot of people like vibrating rock, though. Let's be fair.
I don't blame him. That's cool.
But how about that last Tactus card, Dylan?
Yeah. So the last one, Spirit of Wakanda. It is a Wakanda affiliated card. Active. A Wakanda character may spend 2 power to play this card. The character that played this card may immediately use one of the following 3 effects. All other allied characters within range 2 get to heal 2 damage. All other allied characters within range 2 get to remove all special conditions, and all other allied characters within range 2 of this character gain 2 power. It should be noted that this says all other characters, so that if you pick that last one, you don't just immediately get like a refund.
Right.
If anybody was thinking about that. So I think all three of those are really. This card is great. You are gonna see this card all the time. This card is so good.
Well, I mean, the anti-stagger tech, or especially if you have someone that's being really just beaten down with judgment or stun or incinerate or hex, that's just really limiting what they can do. And the fact that it is not Wakandan characters exclusively that can be helped by it is awesome. I will say the only caveat on the heal, which seems really great at first, is similar to actually all of the effects on here. It's one character spending it who will not benefit from any of the three things on there. Giving power, which is like a R&D on vibranium, and as well as the other ones, it's only affecting your other characters. So like unlike because with the heal one specifically, I think of the I Am Groot tactics card that heals everybody for 2. This one only other characters. So your mileage will vary, but what an incredibly versatile card that's pretty much always going to have a point to be useful.
Yeah,
I would say
2 power.
Yeah.
I would, yeah, right. That's which is nuts. I would say that the chances of using this card on E's and C's is going to be it's going to be mind-bogglingly amazing.
Yep.
Maybe don't bring it on a D or a B just because the ranges get a little weird.
Mhm.
So will it always be used? It's not like Wakanda Forever where you'll just always see it, but you'll probably see it more often than not.
Right.
That's a good prediction.
So I like this a lot, and just obviously, I think we skipped over this a little bit, but Jabari Chieftain with Supersonic Annihilator as well. Assuming, once again, that Claws in Wakanda turning into an A5, 8 strength attack. Seems dope. Seems dope. But, all right, we have a handful of Tactics cards left. One thing that we always ask, right, with character releases is, outside of Avengers, where do you think these characters particularly fit? Let's go Claw first. I think it's Brotherhood's pretty obvious, and we might even have to start adding Brotherhood to that Avengers list of like, yeah, they're going to be good in that too. But is there any other place that you see him really excelling?
Claw specifically?
Yeah.
Criminal Syndicate?
Well, he's an affiliated leader for Criminal Syndicate. I mean, do you throw him in with Guardians to have a lot more energy, especially against M'Baku's? Got it. Understood. All right, how about M'Baku? Where are you throwing him at?
M'Baku, I could see splash into darn near anything. That's how good he is.
Yeah, I think he is pretty versatile.
I would say, in my opinion, I might put him in Midnight Suns to get him that little extra like movement bump in order for him to like start going off. Just because it's just so you can get that possible second attack and get pushes and pursuits and such.
He brings a lot of stuff at a cheaper threat for Midnight Suns as well that they lack sometimes in their 3s and 4s. Specifically throws and resistances to pushes and stuff. They have a Hulk or 2 in there, so they certainly have access to it, but not at that cost and not at that size and power cost as well. So I think Midnight Suns is actually a great spot for him, especially for a real maneuverable, potentially, if they're attacking Beat Stick. And I think you're spot on with that Midnight Hop, really kind of complementing him very well as well. I like him in Sam Wilson Avengers as well, for the same reason.
Oh,
yeah.
More
what other affiliations tend to have difficulty actually like moving people? Dark
Dimension?
Yeah, well, he'd probably do really well with Dormammu, actually. You're not wrong. That's actually a great spot. I guess that's actually another place you could even put Claw, just because he's got that the thirst. He's got the thirst for power.
Yeah, he very much does.
Ebler in chat says X-Men Gold. Give him a storm hop up.
Yeah, that's a great. Great.
Anytime you can save an action on him, even better.
Yeah, so, and honestly, he's kind of like, he fits that beast role pretty well, especially if he ends up being on one of the bigger bases, as far as being able to storm hop, get up, get back, maybe even making attacks to displace before moving back as well. I don't hate that at all. And a better throw. And not an enemy character throw like Beast has, but yeah, there's a lot of good stuff there for sure. And cover really helps his already pretty decent survivability and kind of bulks up on his physical attacks and stuff as well. I think that's a great call. Red
I like
Skull,
him
cool.
in Kingpin's Criminal Syndicate as well, with his some resistance to being pushed off or moved off of points, um, and then just his ability to move other people off of points to double down on that. I think fits them really well.
Yeah,
I agree.
100%. So let's get into this last section here, which is going to be these new. Were these the three? Nope.
Cosmic
It's a
Ghost Rider card.
Cosmic Ghost Rider.
Cosmic
We
Ghost
got
Rider.
3.
So here's the thing that, when you buy a box that only has one model in it, and it comes with 3 Taxis cards and none of them are reprints, you're in a great spot. Like a really good spot. And I really like that with characters that exist in multiple affiliations, like Ghost Rider does, because he's a Guardian. He is Black Order. He is a Midnight Sun or something as well. Wasn't there something else on there?
Defenders.
Defenders.
I mean, Defenders certainly is not going to be mad at that. But some of these are really incredible. One is spot on and probably my favorite card ever, called Galaxy's Greatest. This is the Guardians of the Galaxy active. Up to 4 injured allied Guardians of the Galaxy characters may spend 2 power each to play this card. Characters that spent power this way gain a Big Dumb Hero token. Characters with a Big Dumb Hero token add 1 die to their attack and defense rolls. That is just a switch. It turns on, they have it. That is for the rest of the game. That's so rad. Winging It tokens obviously complement this card heavily. More dice, more rerolls. So that way when you roll your 5 dice builder and you roll a skull, 2 hits, and a block, you're like, all right, well now I can at least reroll 2 things because now you rolled 6 dice. That also wasn't an attack success. So I really like this. I love it a lot. And it's not the most powerful thing in the world because you got to be not doing great to need it. But if you're going up against an attrition list where you know your characters are going to be wiped off the field one by one, what a great gambit to double down on making sure that you're losing and being able to have a little bit more oomph in your fight back. Especially that round 2 or 3, right? Probably round 3 very specifically, where your Guardians are getting wiped out. You're stocked full of power now, and you come with that clapback with Galaxy's Greatest to just really send it out. And this is not at activation. This is not during the power phase. This is just an active. On any one of their turns, you can choose to turn the tides, which is, I really like it a lot.
Galaxy's Greatest turn with Deadly Duo. About 6 dice plasma rifles.
All right, I don't want to ask
5 times.
I don't want to ask Dylan, but can you tell me about some time travel?
Sure.
Also, the Facebook responses to a lot of these cards coming out, it has been very difficult to not respond to people by being like, it's time travel, don't ask, if they're complaining about that particular card.
That's definitely the most interesting out of the 3, I'm not going to lie, in my opinion. All right, so it's time travel, don't ask. It's unaffiliated because we can't give Defenders a card. Reactive. During the cleanup phase, after VPs have been scored, an allied Cosmic Ghost Rider that is not contesting an objective token may spend 5 power to play this card. Cosmic Ghost Rider may advance medium towards an objective token that you are not securing. If you would now secure the objective, you immediately score 1 victory point. Then, if Cosmic Ghost Rider has a Psychosis token, he may remove it. Now, as a reminder for everyone who doesn't love Cosmic Ghost Rider as much as I do, you lose the ability to control objectives if you have the Psychosis tokens, which happens, I believe it's at 5 or 6 power. Which is ironic because this card removes the power that would have given you Psychosis while also just immediately scoring you the objective, which is pretty cool. And if I'm reading this correctly, if you now so you don't even have to control the objective. I think as long as you're just on it, you just score.
Yeah,
because it just says you have to secure it. It doesn't say you have to actually win it, which is great. That's a super neat card. That's definitely a card I could see people using.
The wording on it, too, very specific, right? It doesn't say not contesting. It says not securing. So you can have characters on that point, and Ghost Rider could be the last little bit to get you there. But it is also after your enemy has in fact, probably already gotten victory points for it. So you'll both be getting victory points for this, if I'm reading that correctly, right?
Yes.
I think that's the case, yeah.
Yeah, because VPs have already been scored. It doesn't say anything about taking away opponent's victory point, just adding yours.
Cosmic Ghost Rider is well known for wanting to share.
That's fair.
Clearly.
Yeah.
And so the ability to potentially remove the Psychosis token as well, I do like that it's a May. I almost expected it not to be. I almost expected you getting that victory point on a turn where you have the Psychosis token and you aren't going to be able to contest. It would automatically extend it. But this is allowing you to extend it if you need to.
Which I don't think the Psychosis token has like a bonus, does it? It's only a downside?
And if it
Pretty
has, there 100% has to be something on there to make that be a. Oh yeah,
Why-
the benefit is that it counts skulls and its attack, defense, and dodge rolls as successes.
Oh, that's right. Oh, that's right. Yeah, so I could definitely see an argument as to why you may not want to get rid of it, depending
Well-
on board state, of course.
And you're scoring a point, right? So if you know you're one off and you use this, it is after the victory points are already scored during the cleanup phase. But that means you can't use it to steal a victory out from under your opponent who has won, but it could confirm a victory that you are already shooting for, which I think is a good way to do it. But and then if you want to continue to be a cosmic murder hobo the following round with skulls on defense and attacks, full send. Full send. All right, Dan, who do you serve?
The Titan.
Nice.
The Mad Titan. So Servants of the Titan is the last card here that is Black Order, and this confirms that Cosmic Ghost Rider will be in the Black Order because it's an active card during Cosmic Ghost Rider's activation. Any number of allied Black Order characters may spend 1 power to play this card. For each power spent to play this card, roll 1 die. For each crit, wild, or hit, or blank in the result, Cosmic Ghost Rider deals 1 damage to an enemy character within 3 of him. For each skull and block in the result, Cosmic Ghost Rider suffers 1 damage and gains 1 power.
All right.
Whew.
So this is gross.
I just need to reread it, wrap my head around it. I read it earlier today, and now I'm like, wait, what?
So it's Helios, except it's just direct damage. So you can have
Either
the
to
black
the enemy or him. Okay.
So you just have whatever it is, 10, 15 die going into this to remove a Hulk, an Immortal Hulk, or something
Right.
along those lines.
Well, you're not going to get that many dice out of it.
Why not?
Yeah, why not?
Any number of Black Order characters may spend 1 power to play this card.
Oh,
For each Power
gotcha.
spent, not at least 1 or
This
anything
guy,
like that.
he was even just
So-
reading it. I could have been listening as he read it.
Right?
I
Well,
would
I had
have
to read because I was like, wait, how are you going to get a ton of dice on this? I had to reread it myself. But so you're talking like, especially Black Order are expensive. You're talking 3-4 dice, maybe.
Yeah,
Because the
especially-
Ghost Rider is already 6 by himself, so probably 2.
Yeah, I mean, especially, I guess it is, there's no range on it, right? And with Corvus being an alternative leader that costs a Taxus card slot but gives you a little bit cheaper option, you certainly could get a handful with Supergiant and Proxima both being 3, Ghost Rider being 6, Corvus 4. Yeah, you're probably getting 3 to 5 most of the time. 5 being probably at the high end, probably rarely ever 6.
I forgot he could pay a power as well, so
Yeah.
my estimates are kind of up 1 there.
But
I think
it's
it's
really
super cool. It's not, I mean, we're talking about a bunch of power, but it's not an expensive card since everybody's only spending 1. They're Black Order, they probably got it.
Yeah, and it synergizes with their affiliation pretty well, right? With Thanos, if you're able to take someone down with this, then you're going to be doper McGopers.
Cosmic Ghost Rider chooses violence.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, I love this card because it's probably going to do a damage. How often do I get enemy characters down to 1 damage left and then just Servants of the Titan? Bah, you're gone. Ha!
That's actually
I think-
a great point.
I think you can even split it up, right? It doesn't have to be on one character.
Roll 1 die
it's the
for
way-
each in the result. To an
Yes.
enemy character. You can split it up?
Yeah, I think you can split it up.
Looks like it.
That is the way I'm reading it. Wow, that's cool.
For each success in the roll, you deal 1 damage to a character. It doesn't say has to continually be on the same character or anything like that. That's Oh yeah, because you can just spread out that nickel and dime damage. That's even better, I think.
Right.
Well, and that
So
synergizes really well with what you're saying earlier on those tight gammas and demons and things like that. We're gonna have a bunch of people
Yeah.
in range just kind of plink off, especially after a round where you were leaving people at just a little bit.
and if I remember right, Ghost Rider's pretty fast, so I don't think he, because Cosmic Wheels of Justice, it's himself, right? After this, no, that's the one that shoots. There's he moves other characters. Can he move himself? I guess can he Chains of Sidorak himself? Push it
Well,
towards
he
us.
has to
No,
push towards himself, so it wouldn't
yeah,
go
so
anywhere.
yeah. I guess
I
you
thought he
can.
had another like free move.
No,
Yeah,
I
the
don't.
Interstellar Hell Cycle.
Yeah, right. Yeah, he gets a
Oh, there
place.
it is.
He teleports.
I knew he had a place. Okay, so you figure since he's a fast boy, you could definitely get yourself in a position to where you could really get this to go off,
Oh,
right?
yeah.
You get to pick
Mhm.
where it happens.
I do like that
Yeah.
it's locked to Black Order because I think that would be one of those cards that sneaks pretty heavily in places it shouldn't be, were that were an unaffiliated card. I think it fits the theme there. I think every one of these fits really nicely into
Yeah.
just that character as a whole. And I love that Guardians cards are always really on point narratively and
Mhm.
wild cardy
Big time,
and
yeah.
plucky attitudely. Keebler in chat asked, has anyone tried a team of heroes who score outside the cleanup? First off, I really like this. So this is Agent Widow, Spider-Woman, Punisher, Killmonger, and now Ghost Rider. Also MODOK Scientist Supreme, and the S.H.I.E.L.D. affiliation as a whole, which Agent Widow and Spider-Woman can both take part at. I actually really like that quite a bit, especially with the Usurp the Throne in there. I think is
Cool.
really nice to just constantly be scoring out of affiliate or out of turn sequence. I think is fun, especially in a murdery list. Interrogate with Spider Woman and Agent Venom or Agent Widow with Killmonger. I think is nice. But yeah,
You'd be scoring 4 points off of that.
mm-hmm.
That's pretty funny, actually.
Yep.
Crazy. One last thing I want to say about his Cosmic Ghost Riders cards is I love how different they are from regular Ghost Riders cards. And they just give a completely different feel to the character.
Yes. And Ghost Rider is Frank Castle and not Ghost Rider, so he cannot.
Yeah.
He cannot respawn, right?
Oh,
No,
I
because
was
he's
thought you were
cosmic.
going with that you can
'Cause he's
take both in the
cosmic
same
Ghost Rider.
squad, which is cool.
Okay.
Yeah, because the other card specifically says Ghost Rider.
Yeah.
So yeah.
I'm not even sure that one even specifically says Johnny Blaze. I think that one just actually says Ghost Rider
As his real name or on the Tactics card?
As his alias.
on the text card. I'm double checking right now.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it's-
if Ghost Rider.
Jonathan Blaze is on the OG Ghost Rider card.
Yeah, the
Jonathan.
tactics card specifically says
Yeah. Oh,
it
gotcha.
says Ghost Rider,
Nice.
Yeah, so
but Frank is cosmic.
All right. Well, I like it.
so
So overall, just to kind of end this out, we are going to be streaming the Atlantic City Open the weekend of June 17th. So make sure to tune in for that. There are tickets still available for that. Make sure you get them with our link if you have not already. And then, if you're not going to be making it to the Atlantic City Open, I would highly suggest heading to Salt City GT. This is in Syracuse, New York, the weekend of July 7th. Let's get that event to be rad as heck. Keebler's going to be there. We're all going to be there. Ben and Alyssa are going to be there. Brian is going to be TOing it. It should be an absolutely great time. So head over to saltcitygt.com. Pick up your tickets. They're going to start flying now. We've been talking to some people that are probably going to be buying some groups of the tickets. So if you're in upstate New York, if you're in a place that's around there in Canada, head to saltcitygt.com and grab your tickets for that.
Hold on, I'm gonna double check. I just tried to go to saltcitygt.com and it said it was not found.
Good point. So don't go to saltcitygt.com. Go to thesaltcitygt.com.
There we go. Okay.
And it's on Best Coast Pairings. Like I said, we're going to be streaming it. We're going to be there. We're going to be running the whole dang thing. So let's pump that one out. That would mean a lot to me if we could have a convention somewhere close to where we live that is starting to grow for MCP.
Be nice, yeah.
But In addition to all that, professionalcasual.com is a great place to find blogs about MCP written by this own Dylan Dyer about how to paint without fear, paint better, be better, make better goals, and just be a better person. Progress, not perfection. In addition to that, Dan has written a whole bunch of blogs as well about WFRP 4th edition, which is Warhammer Fantasy Roleplay 4th edition, going over through each one of the classes. And don't think that that's like, oh, well, D&D has like 8 classes. How many could there be? It's like 45 or something like that.
64.
64. So there's a lot.
There's 8 classes, but of all each class have 8 careers, which are.
Have you ever wanted to be a rat catcher, a burglar, maybe a racketeur, maybe a wizard, maybe a guard, maybe a merchant?
Could be a boat.
You can be a boatman.
A bunch of boat careers.
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
Mm-hmm. So
you could be a boat.
This game could be anything.
Even a boatman.
Mm.
You know how much we've always wanted one of those. And that plays in very well with a grim podcast of perilous adventure and Settling the Southlands, 2 actual play RPGs that Dan runs here on the network. Settling the Southland is Patreon only at the $10 tier and up, but Gapapa is free for all. If you're considering stepping your toe in and seeing what Settling the Southlands is like, you can do so right on the YouTube. Same with the Lost Omens podcast and the Slithering. The Lost Omens podcast is a Pathfinder 2nd edition actual play podcast that has myself, Dan Taylor, and is run by our own Dan Cole. It's a great time, and Settling the Southlands is the Patreon-only exclusive version of that as well that I get to run.
Slithering.
The Slithering. Mondays, every other Monday currently, Dylan has a podcast called Arachne, which is right here on the network as well. Dylan, why don't you let the fine people know what you've been talking about recently and what you're going to be talking about soon? Because I believe there's another episode this upcoming Monday.
Yeah, sure is. I'm actually just finishing the editing, hopefully today. We've been talking about events mostly. We have had one lore dive episode. So if you've ever been curious about the Infinity lore, it's a little elusive to get a hold of sometimes, mostly because of the books, the way they're constructed and all that, and blah blah blah. But we talk about Bakunin and I guess you'd call it like the Sisters of Battle equivalent-ish thing. They're very different, but when you first look at them, you definitely see Sisters of Battle vibes out of it. And and actually this next episode, we are talking about how to run your own tournament, not just Infinity. So if you've ever been curious about running an event in general, we go over some of the things that we've done, and we may probably make fun of Dan or something, and then we go over like the things you should kind of keep in mind, like programs that you can use for like not rankings, but like matching, and then where you could potentially get like prize support and just some of the mentalities you should have if you want to run that kind of stuff.
Nice. I really like that quite a bit.
I like you a lot. So
nice.
And Infinity's a great place, and we're just over there goofing off. So if you're curious.
I will say
Come on over.
We just got back from Ironweld, which is one of Wicked Dicey's events where they kind of try out some additional formats that could potentially see the light of day in Everwinter, which is in December outside the Boston area. We're going to be at that as well. So I think it was really cool. I stopped in at one point. I was trying to find Dr. D so I could say goodbye, and I heard his very unique laugh from like 3 halls away. Walked down to the Infinity room. And I will say the vibe in the Infinity section is always like real good. Like real good. The terrain looks incredible. It's very vibrant. There's all sorts of neat things going on. And everyone just seemed like they were having a good time, which is super important.
I will say, I think it was also the only event at Ironwell that had a lady in it.
Nice.
And she was good. She was really good. she was bomb at the game, which is awesome.
Hell yeah. In addition to all of that good stuff, guess what? There's a whole lot more. The Patreon at patreon.com/professionalcasual has all sorts of additional shows, episodes a week early for most of our actual play podcasts, and video for all of those as well as the entire chronology of Elite 8 Showdown, some older shows like Professionally Asked, Casually Answered, an absolutely off-the-wall advice show we did, as well as some of our older pop culture stuff as well. We also are very fortunate to have Joe Gennaro and Ron Haynes from the Comic Book Rundown, now a part of the network, that comes out Fridays, where they talk about, guess what, comics, and they run them down, including comic book movies, going all the way back to some of the first Yeah, those old Fantastic Four movies. Not the one you're
Phantom?
thinking of. Not Rise of the Silver Surfer. Nope. The older ones. The ones
The
no
one
one talks
with the-
about.
The one with the hand-drawn Human Torch.
Yes. Yep. He goes through everything. So we're talking DC, we're talking Marvel, we're talking Image, everything. Everything under the sun is in this man's purview, and he has done over 600 episodes. You would be lying to yourself and me, so stop it if you could not find an episode based off a property that you liked. It is a lot of episodes. And last reminder for the time being, the link that is posted, pinned in chat, that's in the show notes, is for a Star Wars Shatterpoint core set giveaway that's going to be running through the month of June. So head over there. You can get additional entries every day by just clicking a single link. It's dope. There's a bunch of ways to enter to it, and it is going to be open worldwide now. So it was just going to be limited to the US, but now, listen, wherever you live, we'll figure out a way to get you a copy of Shatterpoint. So,
Whoa.
if you were interested or maybe on the fence, didn't want to dive into another game right now because you're so into MCP and Infinity, then this might be a great way to get into it. Next month as well, potentially even sooner, we might be able to get the contest up before the first one ends, but we'll also be giving out that Padawan Ahsoka. The early release Ahsoka will be July's giveaway for Shatterpoint. Guys, thank you so much. As always, professionalcasual.com, and we'll see you next time. Bye.
Ah.